I also flew the F-18, and people often ask me what was my favorite airplane to fly. And I have to say that the F-14 has a special place in my heart. It was a big beast of an airplane. It was complicated. It was in many ways very hard to fly, and it challenged me as an aviator. So I really am proud of the fact that I got to fly that airplane and did great things with it. I joined the military after college, and I've lived all over the world. I always wanted to be in aviation and joined Navy ROTC in college with the intention of going to Navy flight school, which I did in 1991. And I earned my wings of gold and flew for almost 20 years in the Navy. I've been involved in general aviation since I got out of the Navy. My day-to-day job here is to manage 100 students, 40 flight instructors, and about 30 airplanes. I am a certified flight instructor instrument and multi-engine instructor. I obtained those ratings through my experience as being an instructor in the Navy, where I taught both new students how to fly their airplanes, how to fight their airplanes, and also worked with experienced pilots in refining their skills. So I believe that I'm coming here being able to give a wide spectrum, although we don't fly military airplanes here, a wide spectrum of understanding of how, not only how we physically fly an airplane, but how people think and how they best learn. Hopefully being able to impart a little bit different view of how learning aviation works for both our instructors and for our students. I find that intensity and the accelerated nature of our program is very similar to military flight training. The fact that we have very high standards and that we also demand a lot of our students so that they get the most out of their time here is very much familiar to me with my time in the military. The airport manager here at Johnston County actually was my roommate in the Navy. We were on the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk for about 9 months together, shared the same room that was about the size of a standard office. And when I was thinking about getting back into the aviation world, I reached out to him knowing that he was working here at the airport and said, do you know of anybody looking for somebody that has my qualifications, because he knows them well. And he said, well, that's very interesting, because I think that a tenant here at the airport is looking for somebody that needs your skills. Having that structure, as opposed to perhaps a Part 61 school where you're setting your own schedule, you're flying when and if your instructor can fly, maybe you're trying to fit it in with other things. Our students are here 100% to learn how to fly and get their certificates. So on a day-to-day basis, I am doing anything from coordinating a ferry flight to pick up an airplane that we had to have repaired, to working with instructors on hiring a new assistant academy lead, to talking to a student who may be struggling and trying to understand what it is that they need so that they can be successful. All aspects of interacting both on the people side and then working with the rest of our support operation to ensure that we're delivering the training that we are paid to by our students. So at Blue Line Aviation, we have our training divided up into academies. Each academy focuses on a particular certificate. And the advantage of that program is that each of those instructors within that academy are specialists. They train daily on those skills required for that particular certificate. And their ability to focus on that student, often working with the same student day after day on the same skills. They remember the progression that student's working on. That's differentiated from working with a Part 61 instructor who may have many students at many different skill levels and many different places in their training, and trying to remember where that particular person was because they haven't flown with them in a week or two. It just provides a much more consistent experience for the student, which ultimately leads to them getting through the program faster and with better quality training. Blue Line has a secret sauce, the way they run their program. The ability to both scale up at our current facilities, both here and in Florida, and ultimately we hope to be able to scale up beyond these two airports and replicate our program and our experience in other locations where there's a high demand for training. By producing high quality, well-respected students who enter the aviation world, it will create a demand situation where people are wanting to hire our students more frequently because they know the quality of pilot they're going to get because they went through our rigorous program and received high quality education. So I think that the ability for Blue Line to grow in the industry is to create that image of a high quality organization that people want our graduates from. So I was just sharing a story with one of our instructors this morning as he was looking out these windows, waiting for a check ride to come back. I thought about my preparation for my first solo in the Navy. At the time, the Navy flew T-34s, which is a turboprop airplane with retractable gear and flaps, what we would call a complex turbine airplane. And that's after 13 flights we soloed in that. And so, needless to say, the Navy wants to be sure that you are prepared to go out and fly that by yourself the very first time. And in my solo check ride, I felt like the instructor was being very critical and very harsh on me. When we came back and he said, "Well, do you think you're ready for solo?" And in sort of a frustrated voice, I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Yeah, I think you are too." And so, I think that experience sharing things like that with our students is sometimes, if I'm honest looking back at it, he wasn't being overly harsh with me. He was just making sure that I was going to be safe for myself and for the Navy's airplane, that I wasn't going to get in trouble when I took off and soloed in this airplane that I only had 13 flights in. So sharing that experience with our students, that everybody goes through that, everybody has that moment of doubt whether they're really ready to do the thing that they're doing. I think that they know that other people have done it and they can do it too, and that gives them the perseverance to push through and get all of their certificates. I had the, good fortune to get to fly the F-14, which many people are familiar with because of the movies. I also flew the F-18, and people often ask me what was my favorite airplane to fly. And I have to say that the F-14 has a special place in my heart. It was a big beast of an airplane. It was complicated. It was in many ways very hard to fly, and it challenged me as an aviator. So I really am proud of the fact that I got to fly that airplane and did great things with it. At the same time, it was an older airplane. It was complicated. It broke a lot. I tell people that I probably had nearly every emergency that we have in the emergency manual, with the exception of ejecting. I never did that. But that challenged me as an aviator and made me a better aviator because I had all of those experiences and went through all of those challenges, whether it was a dual engine flame out or a single engine no flap landing on a foreign runway that caused us to overheat the brakes, and we thought that they were going to hit our airplane with water and blow up our brakes, or diverting into fairly not, I won't want to say hostile, but diverting into airfields where it was not exactly the most friendly place for us to be, because we couldn't land back on the ship. So I learned a lot while I was flying the F-14. I learned that I was going to the F-18 through an application process, that I was looking to go to a different kind of shore duty, and I got orders. And when I got those orders, I took them to my department head and said, "Are these good orders?" And he looked at me and said, "Moose, you just got the best orders in the Navy." I got to be what they call an adversary pilot, so I was a bad guy. We had our airplanes painted up like in paint schemes that would make them reminiscent of former Soviet Union airplanes. And we went out every day and played the bad guy, which meant we got to dogfight almost every day. And the training we did was really impactful to the mission of our new pilots and our fleet aviators who were going out there on the front line defending our country. My call sign was Moose. I mean, it's a pretty easy leap. My name is Barry Elk, and so Elk and Moose go together. But I really got it because my father was called Moose in the Navy. And he was called Moose so frequently that one time somebody walked up to him and said, "Hey, Elk, what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm working on this." And he said, "Do you get it? I called you Elk. I called you Elk. Do you get it?" He said, "Well, that's my last name. Everybody just calls me Moose." So I told that story, and so Moose stuck for me, and I was Moose the whole time I was in the Navy. Coming to Blue Line Aviation, when I interviewed for the position, and now that I've been here and actually had my first couple of flights in our airplanes, I am so impressed with the quality of these Piper products. Brand new airplanes out of the factory with G1000 glass cockpits. They are so much better avionics-wise than anything that I flew in the Navy. It's really quite amazing how much we can pack into a little airplane in terms of the situational awareness, the fact that we have ADS-B and can see what other airplanes are in the pattern and around us. And the situational awareness is amazing for a primary trainer like the Archer Particularly in the F-14, we were steam gauges all the way. We had what we called a heads down display, which was a really large attitude instrument, but it was pretty antiquated. It was basically an old amber screen monitor that was so bright that at night we had to put a red lens over it to dim it down because it couldn't be dimmed enough to not blind you at night. And occasionally that red filter would come off at the most inopportune times, and then you were blinded and scrambling around trying to find the red filter to put it back on. The value that I bring, my connections with many friends and coworkers over the years in the aviation community, my experiences in overcoming the challenges that I had in my aviation career in the military, and also as a mentor. I've been a business leader for 25 plus years, and being able to mentor our instructors, who many of them are also looking to find a career in the professional aviation world beyond Blue Line, and our students to inspire them to want to move up to hopefully some of them coming to work for us as instructors, and all of them to find a place in the aviation world that makes them happy and they find a rewarding career. So I'm really excited about, because I come here as a instrument instructor and a multi-engine instructor, I actually have not trained and am not certificated to be a primary flight instructor yet. So I'll be going through our own program to get my own CFI rating, and then ultimately work my way into being a checker and be able to contribute to the training here directly as a primary flight instructor. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about learning how to fly on glass here, on a G1000 that I've never flown on before, and just being in the airplane and around everybody who's so enthusiastic about airplanes. It's really cool.